In addition to red blood cell production, your bones allow organs to sit in their cavities efficiently. You also have gravity and things like that, but that's not really what we're here for. It's just the basic anatomy, physiology stuff. So I won't go into physics or any of that icky stuff right now. But you have your nutrients, you have your bones, part of your skeletal system. You have, obviously, body fluids. So for body fluids, these are essentially the messengers, the free taxis that you want to call for your body, and essentially, and basically your way of getting something from point A to point B. So for us, at least for paramedics, you're wondering about whether I can replace a body fluid, if possible, based on our drug bag. B, if I have something to supplement a body fluid, such as electrolytes. Or C, whether or not I can maintain until they get to the hospital. So that's part of homeostatic, or keeping everything in balance. So for right now, nutrients, bone structure, or bones, and body fluids are really important, because on a nutrient level, this is more about biology. And in chapter 3, we talk about cells. So we can talk about what the cell needs on a nutrient level as well. For bones, this is more getting closer to body systems such as the musculoskeletal system. At body fluids, this is ranging from the lymphatic system, where your body's fighting off infection, the circulatory system, where we talk about blood, plasma, serum, etc., and people who throw spitballs in class, you know who you are, saliva, mucus, things like that. They help to keep the body safe. They help to keep the body efficiently running. So that gets into my next topic, which is just physiology. So that's just a study of function in general. So it doesn't matter what you're talking about. Kinesiophysiology, want to be a smart guy. Just how movement works, or the study of the function of movements in the body, such as like peristalsis, which is just your esophagus as well as your intestines moving things along, kind of like you're doing the wave, but it's doing it unidirectionally, so in one direction. So not the band or anything, but just getting things from point A to point B. So for physiology, from today's lecture at least, you want to understand that from the paramedic side, that you have blood pressure, respiratory rate, you have pulse rate and quality, you have skin color, temperature, and condition. You have bleeding control, which includes clotting factors, inflammatory response, and you also have nutrient replenishing. So for physiology, for what we can tackle right now, as far as we know about, it's going to be the blood pressure going up, going down, or actually staying the same. Sometimes that happens. We have respiration, whether it be irregular, meaning the person's tachypnic, the person's apneic, person has Kussmaul's respirations. If you want to get fancy, you can read more of that in the textbook. I'm not here for that. You can also deal with pulse, the rate, and the quality, whether it's weak, strong, or whether it's fast or slow. So bradycardia, tachycardia, in the sense of pulse rate. But more into that arrhythmia stuff later in one of those chapters or the other. Then you have the rate and quality of other things that go on with circulation as well, such as how efficiently the baroreceptors that Gary was talking about earlier are sensitized to what the brain needs as far as blood pressure. So that also is going to affect your pulse rate, because that tells the heart it needs to pump more through, and whether or not the blood vessels are stretching, etc. Then skin color and temperature and condition, that essentially is going to come from other multi-system approaches to keeping your body functioning well in homeostasis or in balance. Obviously, what you're going to read here is that bleeding control, for instance, is not just controlled by the circulatory system, it's also controlled by your nervous system. So if you're bleeding out too much and you decide to give a person who needs to be clotting aspirin, you're messing up their clotting factor and their ability to have bleeding control. If you give somebody naproxen or something like that, and the body is giving an inflammatory response or swelling up, you're interfering with the swelling of that particular area, whether it's on your skin or on your bones, muscle tissue, whatever it is. Things like naproxen or Aleve or Advil, one of the two, definitely will affect that. Also, nutrient replenishing. So sometimes you want to give glucose too when somebody is bleeding out, depending on if they're diabetic or not, things like that. But might be a good idea. Also with function, Gary talked about the positive and negative feedback when it comes to the nervous system. So the parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest, and your sympathetic, which is your fight or flight. So it's not as simple as that, but it's the way that we understand it on the paramedic side when we communicate with each other. So you have the sympathetic system, and you have drugs, or a class of drugs that we all kind of will figure out, I think, in like pathophysiology or something, and as well as pharmacology, called sympathomimetic drugs. It's this big long word that just means that it mimics the sympathetic nervous system. Guess which one that might be. So it's one of them that we deliver all the time is epinephrine. So it mimics the sympathetic or the fight or flight response of the body when we're in shock or when we're in a state of dire distress. So epinephrine will be a sympathomimetic drug. Then you have parasympathetic. It's telling the body, calm down, take a chill pill, do whatever you need to do. You need to calm down, you need to dilate, open up, lay back, bronchodilate, deep, normal respirations, nothing hyperventilating, because otherwise you'll be blowing off CO2, right? Too much of it at a time. So we don't really want that, because then the body's going to become alkalotic. So see how that function works there? So for parasympathetic, you have two branches in the parasympathetic system, which is automatic, and you have what we would do, which is kind of like an active phase of calming our body down. So that would either be taking deep breaths, moving to a different area, something active, including drugs, such as albuterol. So, for instance, he gave in lecture today that for labor contractions, instead of keeping the positive feedback, saying, yeah, just push this baby out, let's go. It's more about chill out. We're suspecting something like the placenta coming first before the baby. So the body needs to stop that sympathetic stuff from happening until we get to the hospital. Then there's the automatic or autonomic part of the parasympathetic, where it's regulating blood pressure and things like that. We have no control over our blood pressure, but we have things in our bag, our drug bag, that can deal with letting the heart become more neutral. So that's what's important for now. Another thing that I talked about was the cell itself, the cell to organism relationship. So it's a messed up cell, but it's gonna have to work for now. Okay, that's chapter 3 stuff, and I'm giving you an insight. Yeah, that's right. Talking to you guys. So you have this thing looks like a pill. It's mitochondria, or the powerhouse of the cell. And it's responsible for things like ATP production and breakdown. You have things like the lysosomes, which he was talking about. So these little guys with teeth. So these guys, lysosomes, with teeth that essentially destroy or break down proteins, nutrients, minerals, and also aid in apoptosis, or programmed cell death. You also have in the cell vacuoles, which are generally in plant cells, help with water retention and water loss. So, in the plant cell and the plant cell only, even though I drew an animal cell, I know you guys smart brainiacs are going to tell me that I drew an animal cell and talk about plant cell stuff, but I got you. So for vacuoles, it's about how much the plant cell takes in water and how much it draws water away from itself. We have a similar process in the animal cell. However, it deals with more of the permeability of the cell rather than having a specific organelle doing that for us. A little bit more efficient than giving energy to another cell, another organelle. We also have ribosomes, which is essentially helping with protein synthesis. So, essentially, you need proteins, you need sugars, again, you need vitamins and minerals. So, in our cells, we have things that help efficiently create balance within the cell. And whatever it doesn't need, the lysosome meets it. There you go. There's other things in the cell that help make the cell efficient, but at this time we don't necessarily need it, aside from, of course, the nucleus. And the nucleus holds DNA and sends out a messenger so that the ribosomes could do their thing with the protein synthesis. That's all you need right now until we get into like the cell theory stuff and organ systems, etc., etc. So the takeaway from the cell part of it is when we administer drugs, you're basically messing with the body's and the cell's ability to produce energy, break down energy, create proteins, break down proteins, or commit suicide, essentially. So, yeah. But if we have specialty cells now, he talked about mast cells and this and the third. It's really just your body's immuno response. It's protection. It's helping with the clotting factor. So if you give somebody aspirin, as I said before, and you're messing with that, you're also messing with, on a cellular level, your mast cells. You're telling them to stop, essentially. So that's forceful negative feedback. And now the platelets that would usually come, that are lined up, like he said, with that nice little laceration right there, now you're telling them, go that way, downstream, back into where you belong. So that's what happens when you're sending aspirin, or ASA for short, right? And for physiological purposes, that's all you need to know right now, until we get into more of the pharmacology, dribble drabble and whatnot. Alright, so aside from knowing your cavities and things like that, what glands do what, essentially just read on to the next chapter and you guys should be pretty darn solid.